What a nice audience we've got. I was listening to the gentleman before that, and I was like, I hope you guys find our talk just as exciting. They say, be that successful, you don't have to introduce yourself, so I'm not going to. You know, when you're younger and you go to a concert and you see your total celeb and you kind of front row, like right at the back, maybe on the balcony. I get to be front row with people that I admire so much and that I look up so much. And so without further ado, I'm just going to introduce you to my left. First beautiful lady, heavy competition, is Phuthi. Everybody knows her. She's the CEO of Naspers, as you know. She became the CEO in 2019. She's an independent director of Vodacom Group. She serves on the advisory board of Stellenbosch University's Business School. Should we really do this, Phuthi, because...
I don't think so.
It's really impressive. Phuthi also serves on the board of the United Nations Global Compact Network SA. She's also a council member of the BRICS Business Council. And before she joined here, she was the co-founder and executive chairperson of Sigma Capital, an investment holding company from 2015. She held the position of CEO at Chanduka Group, an investment holding company, from 2004 to 2015. Everything prior to that was just totally amazing, and I'm pretty sure you guys have Googled before, and it'll take you about a few days to do it. Welcome, Phuthi.
Thank you.
To her left is President Ntuli, Managing Director of Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. He's not handing out any PCs, so it's not look under your seat. Everyone in the audience get a PC today. I was trying backstage, so I don't know, I'll let you guys know. He leads Hewlett-Packard Enterprises and growth within South Africa across edge, cloud, and AI offerings. Previously, he spent 2 years as Senior Director for HPE GreenLake Cloud Services in Ukimia, driving as a service transformation across the region, and also oversaw the service provider business. Prez, we can call him Prez because you came to the session, is passionate about innovation and sustainability. He believes technology innovation not only provides a platform to disrupt traditional business models, but is instrumental in improving the lives of all people, irrespective of their socio-economic standing. This, together with his ability to construct complex commercial deals, the value he places in partnership. And his deep understanding of technology and mission to make a difference is what makes Prez a leader. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Hardy will now start with the dons. No? Oh, okay. Hardy is the President and Group Chief Executive Officer of Cassava Technologies. Hardy was Group Chief Executive and Managing Director of Econet for 6 years, one of the pioneers of the mobile telecoms industry in Africa. He has over 20 years' experience of senior management positions, and he's a seasoned board-level practitioner with extensive experience across Eastern and Southern Africa in financial services, development banking, telecommunications, and infrastructure. Hardy holds engineering and business degrees from Queen Mary College, University of London, and the Edinburgh Business School. Please put your hands together. The really cool gentleman on that side is Mr. Ian Merrington. Many of you will know him. He's one of ours in Cape Town, local. Ian Merrington is the Group CEO of Uvu Africa, Chairperson of Uvu Bio, and Director of Ingenie, Africa's first EdTech incubator. He's a visionary leader, passionate about leveraging innovation to address societal challenges with a focus on inclusive innovation. Ian drives cluster creation initiatives to improve lives across Africa. Under his leadership, he has transformed into a global leader in technology, business incubation in Africa, with offices in Cape Town, Braamfontein, Johannesburg, and Kigali, Rwanda. Ian believes that economic access for all is critical to the prosperity of Africa. Please put your hands together for Ian. Please note that we were running late, so Phuthi will do the opening remarks, and then she will duck and dive So there's no take-a-lot vouchers, no superbalist freebies. There is nothing, guys. She knows us. I have tried already. Again, if I do get anything, I'll let you all know, okay? Puti, let me start.
Yeah.
What an honor to share the stage, not only with you because of your experience and your knowledge and your long history bio, but also because a woman, like, yay. What is the future of innovation in Africa? What is the emerging technologies that you see, and how do you envision Africa positioning itself as a global hub for innovation?
Thank you very much, Asiya. It's great to be here with all of you. So, Naspers is an African global tech company, and we operate in 100 markets around the global south, and we are servicing over 2 billion consumers. And so, for us, the use of AI agents, co-pilots, and LLMs is important in ensuring that we can provide efficient services and also ensuring that we are market ready for all of our consumers globally. And so from that perspective, I'll give you just a few examples. If I look at our business in agritech, Biomakers. Biomakers is a business that is focused on ensuring that organizations in the agricultural sector can be able to produce, agricultural products in the best way possible. And you may think that perhaps it's about efficiency. And yet, it is not just about efficiency, it is about ensuring that more families have access to agriculture, ensuring that more people have access to jobs in agriculture, and also ensuring that we're able to produce our farming and agricultural goods in the most sustainable manner. Because we know that as Africa, we are one of the continents that is most vulnerable to climate change. And so these are issues that are of importance to us. And so from that perspective, it's not just about technology, but it is about technology that is focused on making an impact in the lives of people, a positive impact in the lives of people. And so when I look at a number of many other businesses that we operate in, I'll take, for instance, our payments business in India, where we're servicing around 450 million people. And there, it's about ensuring that we are providing the best access of services to all of those consumers in India. If I look right here in South Africa, our Media24 business, where we are using our LLMs and ensuring that we're providing the most efficient service to our online services of information. We are ensuring that our journalists are having to spend less time on tedious types of work that require them to spend a significant amount of time. And so what we have seen is that a significant amount of time is reduced in terms of ensuring that you are incorporating your AI very well into the business to ensure that we have as much efficiency as possible. And so from that perspective, I'm very proud of all of the work that we are doing in ensuring that we can achieve all that we need to achieve as a group, but also ensuring that we are doing so in a sustainable manner. And I think overall, that's probably just some of the things that I would mention with respect to that.
Just some of the things, yes, some of the things. Some of us just had a burger, but this is some of the things that you do. That's really impressive, but I mean, it's just so nice to hear it from you than to read it, because you're obviously passionate about what you do, and that's why you lead as example, and I think that's very admirable. But before you run away, who inspires Puti, though? Please don't tell us it's some Taylor Swift, because we're not okay with that. We're not. Who inspires this amazing Iron Lady?
I'm very inspired by many of the businesses that we're invested in. Here in South Africa, when I look at the founders of a business called Naked, it's an insurtech business. And this is a business that was started by actuaries that were working in established insurance firms, but they decided to take a risk and to start a new business. Now, to begin a startup is not easy, as many people who have begun startups will know. But they have done this, and they have established Naked into the business that it is today. And anywhere, as you walk around here in Cape Town, you will see advertisements from Naked. And I'm so proud of the work that those founders are doing. But I'm also very proud of our group CEO, Fabrizio Bloisi. And Fabrizio, through the work that he has done, through, for instance, Movile or our iFood business. iFood is a food delivery business that is now delivering, well, we have around 1 billion orders per annum on that business. And it is all through the use of ensuring that we're using AI as much as possible to ensure that we have that efficiency. So leaders like that, who are focused not only on technology, but ensuring that we have meaningful technology in the lives of people is what really I hugely admire.
Oh, that's amazing. We need a round of applause for that one. I mean, I don't know if I'll be impressed anymore by what you say. I'm just waiting for you to take out your bag and just throw the vouchers. But any last comments? And I speak for entrepreneurs, I speak for businesses, I speak for all of us that want to one day, reach that level and aspire to reach it. Any last words, anything you'd like to add to give us some motivation or to give us some lessons for the day?
Yeah, no, thank you. I think I'm hugely inspired by the work that you are doing as Abaguquli. And I'm hugely inspired by the work that is done also by Uvu. It's so important, the work that you guys are doing in ensuring that we can have digital skilling of young Africans. Yeah. It is so important because this is how we ensure that our young people are ready to become part of this AI first world. And so, the work that you're doing is so important. As a company, we are spending between 80 and 100 million rand on digital skilling in South Africa. And we're only able to do that through companies such as Capacity, which is owned by Uvu, and of course, working with organizations such as yourselves, Abaguquli for IR, and ensuring that we are enabling as many young people as possible to have access to digital skills, but also have careers in the digital industry. And this is how we begin to create the talent that is required, which not only us will use, but that the rest of the world can use also. And so as a country, a continent that has the youngest people, we need to ensure that we are enabling as many young people as possible to be a part of this AI first world, because we cannot be left behind.
Whew.
Thank you.
Phuthi, thank you so much. I know you need to duck and dive, but thank you so much. We really, really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Do I need to sit closer?
Sure.
Will you sit closer to me?
What's it though, eh?
Okay, right?
You
need to do exactly the same that Phuthi did. That's what happens, Right. It's very difficult to fill the seats of females. But,
I know.
You guys are getting there.
Trust me. No pressure.
Sure. That was really inspiring. Prez, I mean, you've been through the digital innovation, you've been through digital transformation, the change management that went through it. What are some of the challenges that you were facing? So what are some of the pressing challenges you face as a leader in Africa's tech market specifically? And we're looking at more, the environments and how you prioritize opportunities for innovation in this fast-growing environment.
Yeah, so thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. She's right, no laptops under the seat, so don't bother looking. But Asiya, maybe let me talk to you as a leader before I talk to you as a tech leader, as a leader being in Africa. And I think we were privileged to have the previous panel of ministers from the various countries in Africa. I think what I picked out of that is we are not short of ideas.
Right.
As a continent. We're clearly not short of ideas. I think we're doing quite a lot of things. My only concern, and I'll be critical of us as tech leaders, is that we have an opportunity to leapfrog the likes of Europe and Americas,
right.
Yet we're still spending a lot of time plumbing. We're still doing a lot of work just focusing on the infrastructure. And I think the opportunity for Africa is actually massive in that we actually don't have to go through the pains that the Europeans
right.
and the Americans and maybe people in the East have gone through. We can easily adopt some of the technologies that we're seeing today, such as AI, such as cloud computing, to fast-track economic growth. That's one thing. But I think the biggest challenge is really boils down to leadership for me. I think, with all the strategies that we have heard of today, I mean, if I look at South Africa as an example, being South African, we have the cloud policy, we have the AI policy, and my goodness, as a tech leader, my frustration is in 4 or 5 years' time, that might change as well. So I'm sitting in there thinking we need to move faster. So I actually wanted us to discuss, together with a panel, how can we work together as corporates to try fast-track innovation, being true partners in the countries in which we operate, and really impact the growth of our economies through driving innovation. Because the technology is there, the willingness is there from corporates, but I think we need to work with government and other ecosystem providers to try and drive that for meaningful change.
I was going to say we need more laptops, but that
we
was a
do.
little bit touchy, isn't it?
We actually do a lot of laptops. We do need a lot of laptops.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right. I mean, we've attended so many of these conferences, and every time it's a new policy, a new group, a new silo.
A new president.
Right.
On the round
and we
table
can't call him praise.
Of course. Yeah.
And I also think that with this is also, isn't it ironic because technology is supposed to move faster?
Yeah.
And so I totally agree with you. And then there's also the bureaucracy having to meet with all the groups, the NGOs, the businesses, the interest groups, and all of that. And so I don't know if you want to answer it or if anyone else wants to answer it, but I mean, I agree. How do we just do it?
Yeah.
I think we forgot to just do it because everything seems to be, let's Teams meeting this,
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if...
Yeah, let me take that, right? I think this is critical, because it's a two-way thing. I think we've got a massive responsibility as corporate leaders. I represent Hewlett Packard Enterprise, and I think we do a lot of work in terms of driving innovation globally. And I think it's a missed opportunity because I probably can do better in terms of letting all of us know what opportunities for partnerships we have that South Africans and Africans can actually benefit out of that.
Right.
In fact, we've got a wonderful story to tell because we're in Cape Town. We did some innovative work. In fact, a lot of the startup companies will know if you need funding, you need to go to Silicon Valley. How do we know? We now have Silicon Cape. We've got the Kenyan Savannah. We actually had a South African company founded here called Cape Networks that actually made it all the way to Silicon Valley. And guess what? We bought them. So Hewlett Packard Enterprise bought them. But what I really like about the story is that their head office is still here in Cape Town. So we're developing the skills still here in Cape Town. We continue manufacturing and designing the solutions here in Cape Town. So we've got about 70 developers sitting some blocks away from here, and they're part of our worldwide organization. So that's a good South African story, and I think there's a lot of those stories that I'm sure my colleagues can share as well as we move ahead. But that's the kind of partnership, I guess, the kind of examples that we need to look at, to say, how do we make the resources available to South Africans that they can take advantage of that as well?
I like it. Before I move on, I just want to also just either park it to the audience or to the panel and say, you've mentioned all these places. Are we really making this information accessible to everyone? We're moving forward as big corporates, we're moving forward as big companies, but are we not keeping it to ourselves? It's starting to become the golf boys, keeping this information because there are people with really bright ideas out there and that are stuck. Yeah. And even when they Google, it's kind of limited. They don't know who to access. So I just wanted to park that, and we can pick it up on the next one. Hardy, did you want to add something to it in like 1 minute?
In terms of partnerships?
In terms of like the challenges that we face with it taking so long, and even though technology is there, we seem to be having policies upon policies, and it's just been, look like it's been slowing down more than it's going forward.
Well, we need to stop attending conferences.
For free coffee, Hardy. No, wait. Can you cut that out, whoever's filming?
Can actually do something about it. Look, I think the problems of Africa are known. we don't need another study to know that unless we deal with youth unemployment, we really have no sustainable business models.
Right.
And you just have to look at what's happening in the Sahel region to understand that youth unemployment is the biggest problem that we have to solve as business. It's not a government problem.
Right.
And it's not even about creating demand for the products that we have. It's about ensuring the security of the investments that we're putting into the ground. Because if we don't, it's much cheaper to put an AK-47 into that youth person's hand.
Exactly.
So really for me, as an African leader, that's the problem that we have to solve. Okay, I did something wrong?
This time you did something wrong,
That's the conference
Hardy.
word you mentioned.
I think it must be the AK-47.
Right. What is your issue with technology?
Yeah, so the guy is like, well, you know what, let's make sure
we
that
hear you, we hear you.
this mic doesn't work.
Did you do the counting before we came on? We all had to do the counting.
Counting is hard.
We were worried about you singing, so I said to him, just tone it down, because just in case he takes me seriously.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So that's one area that I think we all have to get together and get together urgently. You know, whether it's HP, it's UVU, it's NASPAS, it's all of us. You know, as leaders, I think we can play our part in democratizing access to economic opportunity, and I think that's the part that technology plays. It democratizes access to economic opportunity for African youth.
Love it.
Because for the first time, a young person sitting in Mogadishu has the option to either go out on the streets and join one of those organizations, or sit at home and code for $25 an hour. That's a choice.
Right.
It's a choice that's brought about by bringing, things like the fiber cable that we have built from Cape Town to Cairo. It's about how do we reduce the bar for access to devices? How do we bridge this usage coverage gap that we all keep talking about, and we don't seem to be making progress on it?
I think while you're on it, I mean, you're giving us some really insightful ways to do it, and we would like to know. I mean, what is this to you? Because we see you as a visionary leader. So, what do you think the qualities would be that we can all adopt? As visionary leaders, while you're giving us. Just like that, on the tip of your tongue, you just came up with an idea. I mean, do I need to YouTube more? Do I need to be on TikTok dances more? Like, what is it? And then while you're at it, also then tell us what's your balance between your long-term innovation goals with the immediate demands of running a business. I think we're sitting on the edge of our seats to find out, how do we become the Hardys of the future?
I don't know whether you want to be me, but
a little bit.
Look, I think you can't separate leadership from innovation.
Right.
It's I think particularly in an African context, there is that joke that we tell as Africans that, in Africa the fastest gazelle has to outrun, the lion. And the lion has to try and catch the gazelle. So what's the moral of this? Whether you're a gazelle or a lion, you wake up in Africa, you run. And that needs, it needs innovation. It needs innovation to do that. So I think unfortunately, I think the word innovation has been bandied around and overused and misused. And therefore, we forget that it's about identifying the problem, it's identifying who it impacts, and finding a solution. And finding a simple solution or the lowest cost solution. You know, can we do it faster? Can we do it cheaper? Can we do it better? So back to my preoccupation with youth unemployment. For us, you know, it wasn't just about building 100,000 kilometers of fiber, you know, from Cape Town to Cairo. That's fine. You know, that infrastructure is there. But it was, what does that do to bring access to digital technologies on the continent? What does that do to democratize access to employment opportunities? Because when you dig, you know, a kilometer of fiber is the most democratic employer. You employ the unschooled laborer to the most trained engineer along the way. So I think for me, that really is where innovation and vision comes from. I don't think that we should be confusing politicians with leaders, which is one of the biggest issues that we have in Africa. I think there are politicians and there are leaders. Every now and again, we get politicians that are both.
Hey.
But it's not, you know, it's not always gainsaid. Look, I hope there are no ministers.
This gentleman here is a political leader. I don't know.
She made me say.
There goes our free electricity. It's off tomorrow, load shedding everybody. Like,
But I think that if, as business leaders, we're not thinking about, you know, AI is meant to generate trillions of dollars in additional GDP globally.
Right.
Africa's GDP today is about $3.2 trillion. So if you assume that global GDP, by the most conservative estimates, is going to go up by, you know, 20 trillion, okay, as a result of AI technologies, what percentage of that are we as business leaders going to innovate to bring to Africa? What is it that President and Hadi and you know, my colleague here is going to do, Ian? You know, what is it that you know, all of us as leaders are going to do? Because it's all very easy to, you know, we come into these forums, we bend around these big words, you know, AI, and you know, the last time round it was, you know, machine learning. Then we spoke about 4IR. And we haven't even innovated about making sure that we've got a lot less people in Africa going to bed hungry.
Agreed.
Where is that innovation? Okay, so we can start to sit in these echo chambers, you know, where, you know, I'm happy to receive a free laptop. I understand you're giving them away. You know,
We're on our own here,
you know,
guys. We're on our own.
No take a loss, no laptops.
but what is it that those digital technologies can do for Africa's agriculture? What do we do about education to make sure that there is no African child left behind? So for us, when we are connecting these thousands of schools across Africa to real broadband, it's really about buttressing the future, making sure that these kids have got the same access to STEM, the same access to, you know, agribusiness ideas as anybody else in the world, you know, so that they're not left behind. Because if we don't do that, and Africa loses again this decade, it's not as if we're going to stand still. We lose this decade, we go back 50 years. You know, not even our primary resources will be able to protect us from what's coming. So really, for me, that's really why we need visionary leadership at a corporate level, but even at a family level. You know, I think some of the most visionary people that we have on the African continent are African housewives. Of necessity, they are real people of industry. They have to organize those households.
Right.
They have to work with limited budgets. They have to deal with these men that, you know, like President and I, that
They don't give free stuff. Louder, ladies, louder. I want to touch on that because I I feel came out of Pred's statement as well. But do you think there's a disconnect between what's happening on the ground and what's happening out there, specifically in the tech world? Are we coming up with policies, innovations, ideas, talks, meetings, but we're not taking care of where the problem lies actually, and that we're not addressing the issues? And I'm going to speak about skills because obviously that's what we do, so that I can also jump into Ian's talk. But if you talk about skills, I sometimes watch the skills that are being implemented, and I'm like, are we still doing vision and mission statements in learning how to start your business? I mean, Ian, you can obviously relate to this, but surely there are other things that people can learn. If I'm already selling flowers and I'm already selling fruit, do I really need to do a vision and mission, or do you just need to help me use technology to enhance my business so that everybody down the road where I live can work in the business and that economy and that rand flows?
Look, I'm just going to add one thing. I think we need to lower the bar for acceptable failure.
Right.
I think there's such stigma that's attached to failure, and as a result, somebody starts a tuck shop on the side of the road, and they get stuck there because we stigmatize them if they were to shut it down. So I think that you look at Silicon Valley and why it's a hotbed of innovation is because they've reduced the bar for failure. You can fail, and they almost carry it as a badge of honor.
Right.
And if I think there are VCs who say, look, have your last 3 startups failed? Great, now we're going to work with you. What did you learn? But I think that for us, and it starts with us, as corporate leaders, in terms of, if we look at our supply chains, how much of our supply chains are open? We all talk about young people and giving them opportunity and getting them, but how much of our supply chains are we opening up to these young people? How much?
I want a round of applause for that question. I'm going to put you on a hot seat a little bit. While I agree with you that failure, we should embrace failure, can we afford to, though? I mean, I sometimes look at SMMEs, and obviously we sit in this space, and I think they're so passionate, and they're doing everything right, but they don't have a little bit of backup. This is it. I got retrenched, took my money, planted it into the company. I don't have, sort of the money to back up my failures. Is this not a gap that we can all possibly play in and say, we see the potential, it's quite normal to fail, we're willing to invest, and not just in a company going on this trajectory, which is taking you back to your point about failures?
Yeah, look.
Would you like to change seats? Because this was the...
I think perhaps the worst advice that we've given to young people is to say, be an entrepreneur.
Right.
I think.
Did everybody get that? Yeah.
I think this is disingenuous.
Right.
I don't think that everybody can be an
Right.
entrepreneur. I think that we need to recognize that some of the success that's needed is to try and bring people together and coalesce around big visions and big ideas. I mean, some years ago, when the in Mozambique, when I think it was BHP, and they created this program where they were spending a lot of time in training people to supply to them. I think Kenya Breweries in Kenya did the same. Training people to become better suppliers to them. So they say, okay, so what are you capable of doing?
Right.
X, Y, Z. Okay, can you get together with 3 or 4 other people? And can we train you to supply us with hops? Same thing for us as we, when we go around putting infrastructure, fiber cables, for example. The real license for us to dig fiber in the Congo doesn't come from the government.
Right.
You can have a license from Kinshasa, it means absolutely zero in the Congo
Right.
forest. Okay? It's about bringing those communities of young people to get together. A leader will always emerge, that's the entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
But everybody else does the work, and we get them to succeed that way.
Thank you so much. Is there another session after that? Because I feel like we can sit here the whole day and the crowd loves it. Ian, did you think you just sit there and say nothing?
Yeah.
Just look. I'm just the good-looking guy representing
Exactly.
Africa.
Exactly.
No, this is not how it
Exactly.
works. I mean, you play in this space, fostering innovation, which is what Hardy touched on. What specific strategies have you implemented to cultivate this, especially when Hardy's saying, well, not everyone's an entrepreneur, and if you are an entrepreneur, there are certain traits. How do we enhance that, or how do we look at, entrepreneurs already and technology and innovation and kind of implement those strategies?
Yeah, thanks for saying. And good morning, everyone. Welcome to Cape Town, for those of you from out of town. I see, look, I think, for us, working in the middle of all of this, trying to solve these problems and understand these blockages, requires constant innovation. And, we've struck upon a relatively magical formula in Cape Town, and it's artisanal coffee. We find the more coffee we give people, the more creative they can actually be.
I absolutely agree with
And,
that. That's
we
a
had
round of applause right there. I mean,
Yeah, but seriously, I think creating a innovative culture is critical to be able to play in this very fast-moving space. And I think it's understanding the inherent traits, personality traits that are required of people to be able to operate in that, and recognizing. I'm a reformed accountant, and I had a long time.
Reformed?
I had to be to
We heard
innovate.
that,
To
we heard
innovate,
that.
otherwise I'd have been a creative accountant. And I'd spent a number of years in the creative industry, and understanding that there's a part of that process that is actually magic. That, making a song, creating a movie, or writing a book. And innovation is like that, because you're coming up with something new. You're creating something for the first time. And it's very important to have the right personality types for that. So starting from the bottom, I think your recruitment policies have to recognize that you need to bring in a certain kind of person into your organization. And I think what is working in our favor is you're finding a lot of younger people, and we spoke a lot about the youth in some of the earlier panels, have much more of an entrepreneurial mindset that perhaps in my day when I originally went into
that's very
work.
loud.
But it's
You
to
said it very
seek
loud.
out, it's to seek out those entrepreneurial types that perhaps aren't up for starting the business at this point in their careers, and let them be your internal disruptors. Embrace that, and I think there probably are certain recruitment policies that would discourage those kind of people. We don't want those people. We don't want people that are going to disrupt. So how do you embrace disruption and hire people that are actively going to do that? I think diversity in all its forms and all its elements, diversity of thought, different ideas. And we particularly have a strong focus on generational diversity. I mean, that the panel this morning spoke about the government listening to youth and those ideas. And, she spoke about the software was great because even the person's father could use the softwares. Can you implement policies of what I would probably call reverse mentoring, where the younger generation are teaching the older generation in the company about trends, ways of consuming, because those are your future consumers. So I think the one aspect is definitely from the bottom up. You have to be able to bring in the kinds of people who are going to be comfortable being uncomfortable, breaking things, taking risks. I think from the top, it's so important that the C-level buys into that disruption and that they don't just play lip service to it, because culture, there's nothing to kill innovation like a corporate culture.
Right.
Really isn't. And that actually goes to the layout of the office, the style of the building, the way people interact with their working environment, to the way people are rewarded or incentivized. We spoke about failure. You've got to embrace failure. You can't punish. Definitely, you cannot punish failure. I think a culture of punishing failure, people aren't going to try things. And and then the bread and butter stuff, making sure people's incentives are aligned around being innovative and being non-compliant. And I know lots of, that goes against the grain for a lot of corporates. We embrace compliance and good governance, and I think those it's finding that balance between good governance and compliance and being able to break things and break rules and do things differently. And that takes effort. You can't just say you're going to do that. You've got to actually prove that you actually do it. And I think out of that comes creativity. So I think innovation, leading an innovative culture is from the top and it's from the bottom. It's the way you recruit, the way you mix people together. And then I think it's from the sides, which is creating an innovative culture within your company that comes from leadership. You know, I think as President and Hardy said, it's absolutely critical. I think for me, perhaps one of the bigger things is to get people to understand what does the future world look like. You've got to keep on explaining and telling the story of that vision of what does the future look like, because that lets you understand that you must understand that your pants are on fire all of the time. Because
Right.
if you stay as you are, you're going to manage yourself into obsolescence. And some people are comfortable being in the here and now, not thinking about what comes next. You've got to actually create a sense of discomfort. People must be uncomfortable knowing that their world is about to change underneath them, and understanding what is it going to take, what does that future world look like, what is it going to take for me to participate in what's moving, and that including embracing changing technologies. And again, you're going to find personality types that are allergic to changing technologies and things changing. You want the people together basically who are going to embrace that change.
Thanks so much, Ian. So I'm watching the clock, and we've got a few minutes left. And instead of asking you, you know, who do you think inspires you, I think this conversation's so heated, I really just want to finish it. I'm getting the strong feeling that there's a big disconnect. And so I want to ask this question. I mean, you've now gone into this big role with your position and your accolades. How do you take everything into account as a leader?
Yeah.
You know, because we also have personal preferences. We want to fix the rhinos, or we want to, you know, save the rhinos, or we want to end poverty or world hunger or something. How do you manage to balance that? Your passions, the mandate from the company, the board members putting. Tell us how you do it to still stay successful but make a difference. And I'd like to pass that question on to everybody. Thank you.
No worries. I think for me it's about allowing people to color outside the lines.
Love it.
I think it's critical that we allow people at the bottom mainly to feed back to the top. So what I found, some of the innovative projects that I've worked on that failed was the way a top-down approach. And the minute we made that bottoms-up approach,
Wait,
and
yeah.
execs being just exec sponsors than doers, we actually got some of the brilliant ideas. That's one. Secondly, I think there's a massive opportunity to drive change, and it's all our collective responsibility. Obviously, we need to your point, we need to report back to the shareholders. So it's really about getting a balance around running profitable business, and while ensuring that we still play a critical role in developing the societies in which we operate in. And maybe one piece of advice I can give to everyone is, if you were to work with companies such as ourselves, it's understanding that whatever innovative idea you come with needs to align to our strategy. Because in a way, you're going to benefit out of working on that project, and at the same time, we'll be able to pay the rates and bills and
Love
build
it.
more laptops. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prez. Hardy, you just want to answer the question and just end off?
Yeah, look, I would start by saying, I think in any unprofitable business is, in the medium term is socially responsible,
Right.
particularly in Africa, where resources are scarce, money is expensive, the problems are pressing. So I think that building profitable businesses is important for leadership, because then that's how we build sustainability, and that's how we create these opportunities, and we have to continue to create the capital that we need in order for us to grow. Balance is difficult, so I prefer the word integration. I think for anybody who aspires to be a senior executive, you have to learn to live with gray. It's never black and white. It's shades of gray. If you wait to be more than 75% sure, you're probably late. He would have eaten my lunch by then, and so I think it's integrating your personal preferences and passions with what the corporate is looking for, but not forgetting that at the end of the day, a good business is about solving big social problems. I think if we do that, then we don't have a problem with success.
Love that. Thank you, Paddy. We're running a bit over time, but Ian, you have to share with us because you obviously work on the ground probably
Yeah,
more
no,
than
thanks.
anyone.
Yeah, I think, the ability to recognize how complex the world is becoming and therefore how complex leadership becomes. And I think one has to be incredibly humble in that environment and the ability to continue to learn and accept challenge yourself. But secondly, probably and much more importantly, is the importance of your team and enabling them in all their diversity and diversity of thought and recognizing them to be extremely different individuals and allowing for each of those different leadership styles, leadership business unit heads to thrive in their differentness and not expect uniformity, not expect your style or your way. You've got to give people the freedom to thrive because you absolutely can't do it yourself. We talk about, the work we do, which is social impact, takes a village. But I think internally, leadership in turn also takes a village. It takes everybody to be part of it. So it's to be able to give everyone that voice, give them the seat at the table, give them their contribution and give them their contributions due, because you just can't do it on your own.
Love it. Thank you, Ian. So I always get to have the final say, because I can. I just want to thank you guys so much. And I just want to, in a joking way, say, instead of us having all these conferences and all these policy making, maybe we need real talk with people like you, to share your ideas, and we need more of these meetings as opposed to having all the bureaucracy over and over. This is really insightful. I'm really honored. I'm really blessed to have been here. Thank you so much.